The 5 crypto rights. You didn't know you already won. Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that, for the first time in American history, your right to own crypto in your own wallet without asking a bank, without asking an exchange, and without asking the government for permission, is protected by federal law. Not a tweet, not a court opinion, not a temporary regulation, an actual law. Now here's the crazy part. That's not even the biggest thing hidden inside this bill. While everyone else is arguing about whether this legislation will pass or fail, almost nobody is talking about what's actually inside it. So I did something most people never will. I read through all 616 pages so you don't have to. And what I found completely changed how I look at the future of crypto and especially XRP, because buried inside those pages are 5 major victories that could reshape this entire industry for years to come. And trust me. Number 1 is something XRP holders have been waiting years to hear. So stick around. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're passionate about crypto XRP and staying ahead of the headlines instead of chasing them, you're in the right place. We break down the news without the hype and explain what actually matters to investors. If that's your kind of content, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we're just getting started. And as always, this isn't financial advice. Always do your own research and never invest money you can't afford to lose. Now, let's dive in. Why this is different. Every crypto channel right now is asking exactly the same question. Will this bill pass? Will it get 60 votes? Will Democrats support it? Will Republicans block it? And yes, those questions matter. But here's the problem. Everyone is standing outside the house arguing about whether the front door will open, while nobody is actually looking inside the house. So today, we're walking inside. Because whether this bill passes next week, next month, or after a few more negotiations, the language that's already been negotiated tells us where crypto policy is heading. That's the story. And it's a much bigger story than today's headlines. Before we jump into number 5, let me ask you something. Do you think America is finally becoming crypto-friendly? Comment yes or no below. I read as many comments as I can, and I'd love to hear your opinion. Now, let's begin the countdown. Number 5, developer protection. Coming in at number 5, developer protection. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm not a developer, so why should I care? Because without developers, there is no crypto. Every wallet, every decentralized app, every payment tool, every innovation built on the XRP ledger starts with someone writing code. For years, developers in America lived with a cloud hanging over their heads. Many worried that simply writing blockchain software, running a validator, or maintaining open source code could expose them to money transmitter regulations. Imagine writing software and suddenly being treated like a bank. That's been one of the biggest reasons some of the brightest crypto talent packed their bags and moved overseas. Switzerland, Singapore, Dubai, countries that offered clearer rules. But this legislation changes that. It makes it much harder for developers who simply build blockchain software to be treated like financial institutions. That's huge. Because when developers feel safe, innovation stays, jobs stay, investment stays, and more applications get built on networks like the XRP ledger. Think about it this way. Protect the builders, and you protect the future of the entire ecosystem. That's why this deserves the number 5 spot. But what comes next is even more personal. Because if you lived through 2022, you already know exactly why it matters, and trust me, you'll never want to experience that nightmare again. Coming up next, the protection that could make another FTX-style disaster far less devastating for everyday crypto investors. Number 4, the end of the FTX nightmare. Coming in at number 4. This is the protection every crypto investor wishes had existed back in 2022. Let's rewind for a moment. When FTX collapsed, millions of people thought their crypto was safely sitting in their accounts. Then reality hit. Many discovered that what they believed they owned wasn't legally protected the way they expected. Instead of simply logging in and withdrawing their assets, they became unsecured creditors in one of the largest bankruptcies in financial history. Imagine buying a house only to find out after the builder goes bankrupt that your house is now part of the bankruptcy estate. That's exactly how many people felt. Years of savings gone overnight. Families lost retirement funds. Businesses lost operating capital. Entire life savings vanished because customer assets weren't properly separated from company assets. This legislation aims to prevent that from happening again. It requires customer digital assets to be clearly segregated from company funds, making it much more likely that your crypto remains your property, even if an exchange fails. That's a massive shift. Because crypto adoption isn't just about technology, it's about trust. And trust grows when investors know their assets are protected. Imagine how many institutions have stayed on the sidelines simply because they feared another FTX, if those fears begin to disappear. Billions of dollars that were waiting for regulatory certainty may finally feel comfortable entering the market. For XRP holders, that's incredibly important. More confidence means more participation. More participation means more liquidity. And healthier markets benefit the entire ecosystem, but if you think protecting your assets during bankruptcy is the biggest win, wait until you hear what's next. Because this next right isn't just about protecting your crypto, it's about protecting your freedom. And believe it or not, it's something many people assumed already existed. It didn't, until now. Quick question before we move on. If you've been in crypto since 2022, you've probably lived through at least one major exchange collapse. Was it FTX, Celsius, Voyager, BlockFi, or another platform? Let me know in the comments. Your experience could help someone who's new to crypto avoid making the same mistakes. And if you're finding this breakdown helpful, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps more people discover the channel. Now let's get to what I believe is the heart of this entire bill. Number 3, your right to hold your own crypto. This is the soul of cryptocurrency. For years, the crypto community has repeated one phrase over and over. Not your keys, not your crypto. But here's something that surprised even me. That principle, the very foundation of decentralized finance, has never been explicitly protected in US federal law. Think about that for a second. The idea that you should be able to control your own digital assets without relying on a bank, without relying on an exchange, and without asking permission has largely existed because the law never directly said otherwise. This bill changes that. It formally recognizes your right to self-custody digital assets. That means holding your own private keys, using your own wallet, sending crypto directly to another person, and maintaining control over your assets without being forced to use a third-party custodian. That might sound like a technical detail. It's not. It's the difference between owning your money and simply accessing someone else's system. Imagine if every email you ever sent had to be approved by your bank. Sounds ridiculous, right? That's exactly why crypto was invented, to allow peer-to-peer value transfer without unnecessary gatekeepers. And for XRP, this matters enormously. Whether you're holding XRP for the next 10 years, sending it across the world in seconds, or simply storing it securely in a hardware wallet, this protection reinforces the very freedom that made cryptocurrency revolutionary in the first place. For many long-term XRP holders, this isn't just another policy change. It's validation. It's recognition that self-custody isn't a loophole. It's a right. Now we've covered developer protection, bankruptcy protection, and self-custody. 3 massive victories. But the final 2 are the ones that could have the biggest impact on XRP itself, because next, we're talking about Ripple's stablecoin strategy. And then, the one question that's haunted XRP for years, is XRP a security or a commodity? That's where everything comes together. Number 2, the stablecoin framework coming in at number 2. This is where the conversation shifts from crypto in general to Ripple and XRP specifically. If you've been following Ripple recently, you've probably heard about RLUSD, Ripple's US dollar-backed stablecoin. And here's why that's important. Stablecoins are quickly becoming one of the biggest use cases in all of crypto. They're already used for cross-border payments, trading, remittances, decentralized finance, and increasingly by traditional financial institutions. But until now, the United States hasn't had a clear nationwide framework for how stablecoins should operate. This bill changes that. Rather than leaving companies guessing which rules apply, it creates a clearer regulatory path while avoiding some of the more restrictive proposals that could have slowed innovation. That's significant, because businesses don't invest billions into infrastructure built on uncertainty. They invest where the rules are clear. Now here's where XRP comes into the picture. Ripple's RLUSD operates on the XRP ledger, every new institution using RLUSD. Every payment processed, every settlement completed, brings more activity to the XRP ecosystem. Think of RLUSD as more cars driving on a highway. The highway itself is the XRP ledger. The more traffic the highway carries, the more valuable that infrastructure becomes. That's why this isn't just a stablecoin story, it's an XRP story. A clear framework doesn't guarantee success. But it removes one of the biggest obstacles standing in the way. And that's exactly what markets have been waiting for. If you're still watching, you're clearly serious about crypto. So let me ask you this. Do you think Ripple's RLUSD could become one of the biggest regulated stablecoins in the world? Comment yes or no below. And if you're getting value from this breakdown, subscribe to the channel. We cover the stories the mainstream headlines often miss. Now, let's get to the biggest one of all. Number 1, the word XRP has been waiting to hear. Here it is, the biggest reason this legislation matters, not just for crypto, but especially for XRP. For years, one question has dominated every conversation around Ripple. Is XRP a security, or is it a commodity? That single question has influenced lawsuits, exchange listings, institutional adoption, and billions of dollars in investment decisions. When legal classification is uncertain, businesses hesitate. Investors hesitate. Banks hesitate. Innovation slows down. This bill aims to change that by creating a clearer framework for determining which digital assets fall under the jurisdiction of the SEC and which belong under the CFTC. Now, it's important to be accurate here. This legislation doesn't simply declare that XRP is officially a commodity. Instead, it establishes legal criteria and a regulatory framework that could provide far greater certainty than today's patchwork of guidance and court decisions. And that's the key. Because guidance can change, a new administration can replace it, a new regulator can rewrite it. But legislation is different. Laws are far more durable. They provide businesses with the confidence to plan years into the future instead of wondering what might change after the next election. For XRP, that's potentially transformational, because once uncertainty begins to disappear, adoption becomes much easier, developers build with more confidence, institutions participate with less hesitation, and the ecosystem has the opportunity to grow on a much stronger foundation. That's why this is number 1. Not because it guarantees higher prices, but because clarity is one of the most valuable assets any financial market can have. Final thoughts. So let's zoom out for a second. Forget the headlines, forget the political drama, forget the daily price charts, whether this bill becomes law this week, next month, or after more negotiations. It tells us something incredibly important. The conversation has changed. Crypto is no longer being debated as if it should exist. The debate has shifted to how it should be regulated. And that's a major milestone for the industry. When you look at the bigger picture, these 5 provisions stand out. Protection for blockchain developers, better safeguards for customer assets if exchanges fail, recognition of self-custody rights, a clearer framework for stablecoins, and a path toward greater legal clarity for digital assets. Those are meaningful developments regardless of which cryptocurrency you hold. As always, keep in mind that legislation can change before it's finalized, and no bill guarantees the success of any individual project or investment. The market will still be driven by adoption, technology, competition, and broader economic conditions. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit the like button, subscribe for more in-depth crypto analysis, and let me know in the comments. Which of these 5 developments do you think will have the biggest impact on the future of crypto? Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay patient, and I'll see you in the next video.